Hi everyone, Magnus here, back with some more live explained rapid chess today. This time playing a 2000 from Mali. I actually don't know what flag I thought that was. Maybe Belgium, but not quite. This time we are playing King's Pawn opening, e4 followed by e5. I think I'm going to give some more traditional knight f3 lines ago. They opt for the Petrov defense, knight f6. I kind of have to take this pawn in the center. They kick me away with d6. If I don't take the pawn, then there's not really much point of putting out the knight there if I'm not going to take it. On d6, I'm going to move the knight back. The question is, where do I put it? I'm just going to put it back on f3. I know that knight d3 is a move, but I'm not too interested in it. I'm going to play knight to c3, developing with an attack on their knight, and if they capture me, I was going to take back with my d-pawn and open up the bishop. They decide not to capture me. I think it makes the most sense to just put my pawn in the center, 2 squares, try and develop my bishop behind, and I should be a little bit up on moves considering they've moved this pawn twice. We've both moved our horses into the middle and back again, but I should be a little bit ahead in development. Maybe I should play for bishop to f4 first so that they can't get their bishop to d6 immediately and stop me from developing to this nice f4 square. And maybe I can consider queen d2 long castles, but I will probably play bishop to d3 first, just keeping my options nice and open and flexible, and not really committing either way what I'm going to do. Okay, so bishop comes out to d6. I'm thinking queen to d2, covering up my bishop here, and making sure that I can, in fact, castle long. I could castle long here. Let's go for it. Let's have some fun. The idea here is I want to launch my pawns up the board. Maybe I should go for h3 and g4. I mean, if you're going to prompt me, I'm going to do it. h3, I'd love for them to take me and open up a g-file to just smash them. Also, this pawn will now cover the center square so their knight cannot hop in. I feel like this looks high risk for them. Very high risk. Then they're not developing a super quick attack as far as I can see, unless they want to go for pawn b5, which also does make sense, but my knight can always drop back to e2 on b4, and my rooks are coming into the game. So on this move, they are threatening my bishop. I could play knight to e2 as a preventative move because I know that they're going to start storming this side of the board. So I think that the move knight e2 does make a lot of sense, guarding the bishop here, and that way I can take back with the knight, which would be a very active piece in the attack. So I really like this position right now. Okay, so probably I should take that, and maybe I can put my queen over here. I think I'm going to grab that bishop, maybe do a queen up here. They could offer a trade, but I would be able to take that, bring my rook with check. Their king would slide over. I could immediately bring my rook up. Actually, I couldn't because the pawn would cover that. So I guess the question is, do I want to play this move first? I think I'm going to prepare my attack a little bit by bringing over the rook. I guess queen f6 might be played. But I can always play my rook up to g5 in that position, which would attack their horse, and their horse would have nowhere to run, which would be very sad for them. Maybe rook g5 or queen g5 now. On queen g5, I'm thinking they might want to play... Ooh, that'd be interesting. They might want to play knight to f6, but on knight to f6, I then have queen h6, which could be very dangerous. Could be very dangerous indeed. Also, rook g5, knight can go back to f6, and then I can double stack my rooks and try and barricade down the g-file, although they might play pawn g6. I think I'm going to go for queen to g5, and my point is that, yeah, this knight move is expected, but I can also go for knight to g3 and try and go for knight to f5, and if they were to take my knight here, I can take back with the rook, and that looks fairly dangerous. Also, rook g4 could be a very interesting idea. The point is that I want to go rook h4, and if they take my rook, I would take back with the pawn, and I must be winning in that position because the knight would have to move, say, here. And actually, it's not super clear because the knight would move back and cover the pawn. So that's not an obvious win. Probably best to keep it simple. With something like that. Also, I was considering this move. Because that does threaten bishop takes h7 with a pin. But I don't think it's very good after the king just moves. So if rook g4 worked, it would be very good. Because on takes takes, I open up my h-file rook. They would have to drop back. Maybe I would be able to play knight to f4 there. Or knight to g3, just getting in knight to f5. So let's keep considering this for a second. Here takes, knight has to go back to f6 to cover this h7 pawn, and then I can go for knight to g3, going for my knight into f5. And there isn't really a clear way to stop this plan. I guess they could go for g6, but then I go queen h6. And I'm kind of just breaking into the house. But it never seems to quite work because g6 blunts this bishop and the knight would still cover this. Probably the best approach is just to bring in the knight, trade here. Let's say g6, and then maybe start trying to march an h pawn or push the f pawn up the board. But you know what? Rook g4, I can't resist it for too long. I feel like it's a very nice move to open up this h file, and it seems to me like this should be a good attack. I might be wrong. I might be wrong. But I feel like with the rooks coming into the position and the h file opening up, and this knight g3 idea already looking like it puts a lot of pressure on them, I think this is good enough. Like, I'm seeing some idea here where they take here, the knight moves back. Okay, they're clearly not interested in my rook. They're saying, I'm having none of that business. None of that funny business with the rook. Which honestly makes a lot of sense. Knight g3 now. Yeah, I didn't really consider what happens if they just decline it, to be honest. Which is pretty bad. That should be like one of the first things you think about. But rook h4 was my main idea. And now my point is that I have got a rook onto the h file, which is doing some business, trying to attack them. My knight can come to g3, and I can try and break in, although I guess I should stack this rook here first. The attack doesn't seem very clear. I'll say that much. Probably they need to play a move like king h8, just to get out of these pins on the g file. And after king h8 and rook g1, I guess I gotta go for like knight to g3. I should maybe make some luff for the king as well, because I could get attacked. There's also pawn storm. Okay. gonna play this knight move, trying to possibly get my rook in this way. If they take with the knight, I would take with the rook, putting big pressure on this guy. And let's say they move the knight there. I can always go back and threaten to take the knight yet again. Then I guess they'd probably go back to f6. So that'd be a weird draw, wouldn't it? The knights and the rook just switching. Oh no, on this move the f pawn hangs. So actually I think I'm doing quite well here. They might have to play rook e6. And I'm not entirely sure what to do on rook e6. h4, h5? Yeah. Rook e6, I could play bishop f5 too. Let's go for this. Idea being that they can't take because I have a checkmate. And if they move the rook away, I can sack the bishop for this pawn here, and then I bulldoze in with my rook on their knight. So I think bishop f5, bishop g6 is a pretty nice idea to try and get their rook removed from this e6 square and re-involve the pressure on this knight. Yeah, I think this looks good. So let's see, probably rook e2, maybe rook e7. Every move pretty much I'm playing bishop takes g6. Unless maybe if they move the rook to e8, I could also consider bishop d7, but pretty much bishop g6 is seeming like the best move. Don't know what they're going to come up with here. I mean, yeah, okay. The main way that I saw bishop f5 was just noticing that I want to remove the rook, and also there is a pin down the g file, which has kind of always been there. Also, I have no, I don't have that move. Okay, I'm thinking maybe I should just start pushing this pawn up. Try and break down the defense. Could also play for h4, h5. My h4, h5 might be a little bit more natural. If they ever go for rook f8, I can just take that. So I'm going to start pushing this pawn, try and break away the position. If the queen were to venture in, I could consider sacking the rook. Because, okay. Can I sack the rook now? I think I can. Because if I take here, takes here, takes here, if the king goes here, I have mate. So that's just one calculation. If I take, king goes here, I can deliver this check, the queen blocks, I give this check, the queen goes back, and that's checkmate. So I think that this is a nice little puzzle rush checkmate to finish the game. Whenever the king and the queen can get all up in the face of the king, there's always these little puzzle rush checkmates like this, and that would have been mate on g7. Good game to my opponent. Let's run the analysis. I think that was an okay attacking game. Okay, I had 91.7 accuracy. Opponent had 77.7. I was a little bit worse at some point apparently, but then it all came back when the attack started raging, which is kind of how it goes with attacking games. It can be a little bit more back and forth. But okay. So apparently bishop d3 is the main move. I thought bishop f4 made sense if I wanted to play queen d2 and castle long. H3 is a mistake. Probably the engine isn't that impressed by this attack. But I think it looked pretty scary. It wanted me to put this bishop in the center. I guess with ideas like queen to g5, that actually does make sense. And like, let's say they were to play this. I guess queen f4 or queen g5. Something like queen f4. If you can get them to take, then this knight would get forced into a really ugly spot, and you lose defense of the bishop. So bishop e5 definitely made sense there. I just played h3, saying I want to open up that g file, and I got the bishop to d3, eyeing up the pawn over there, and yeah, I wasn't sure whether or not it was knight e2. Knight e2 is fine, so it's bishop d6. Eventually it gets traded anyway, so probably a little bit of transposition there. Okay, knight comes out, queen goes in. And rook g4. I thought rook g4 was very interesting. I wasn't certain whether or not you could take. So yeah, you can't take. And is it because of knight g3? It is. It's because knight g3, knight f4. It's just annoying. Like, it's just annoying to deal with. Something like g6, like knight f5 comes anyway. And let's say you play queen to e6. I have queen to h6. And if you take, then there might be bishop takes. Apparently pawn takes is even better. Not really sure why. Oh, because the queen has to be lost. Point is that of the bishop takes, the ending saying just the queen's dead. Like the queen's gone. And this would be the best that white could do. Black could do. So yeah, definitely I think rook g4 was a nice little idea. And the point was that I'm now going to try and get my rook into the h file. Apparently it wasn't the best move, but rook h4, and it is annoying to deal with all the rooks and the pressure on these files. Engine says that black does survive, and apparently rook e6 is the best move. But after my knight was jumping in, I thought with this position, this looked horrible to defend. For black, the only move's king g7, but then this h pawn's coming down the board. Like, pawn to h4. Rook e6 then. Wow. And apparently you're holding bishop f5. Pawn to h6. Crazy. And I guess this rook's loose and there's a knight fork. That's interesting. We didn't quite see that. They played rook e6. I went for bishop f5. Little tactic saying that you can't take me and you got to move the rook somewhere. Apparently the rook should have gone to e2. But on rook e2, oops. On rook e2, I was intending bishop takes g6. And after something like this, I was going to play rook takes f6. But apparently, Engine says with the queen coming to b4, I'm actually in huge trouble. And apparently it's black that's still playing on for the win. Although, I think that position is quite unclear. But then after the rook moves back to the passive square, suddenly everything becomes a little bit too much to hold, and the killing blow, rook takes g6, game over, quick little tactical calculation. You don't have to calculate what happens if the king moves here, because you have just grabbed a pawn with check, so it doesn't really matter. And after this captures, you just got to know this idea to lure the black queen into covering up the king, and then moving back, delivering the check, forcing the black queen back, and you get the checkmate. So good game to my opponent. If you did enjoy this video or find it interesting, do leave a comment and please consider liking and subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.